El Salvador was one of the first countries to announce Bitcoin as a legal tender, and while there were a lot of fireworks at the start of this experiment, the hype seems to have died down now. It's the country's crypto revolution, and unfortunately for them, hardly anyone has shown up. Keep watching this video as we give you some real insight into the country's Bitcoin situation and plans for the future. First up, just a bear market or the end of the revolution? When El Salvador first decided to initiate their revolutionary digital experiment, the market was soaring. Bitcoin had just notched its all-time high, and nationwide adoption was climbing at a really rapid pace. Businesses could make payments using digital gold. Citizens could pay their taxes using crypto, or you could even do something as simple as buying a coffee using Bitcoin. It was heaven for an avid crypto investor who didn't just want to make a quick buck, but genuinely believed in the crypto revolution. And we're sure President Nayib Bukele had plans for the bear market as well, since the country has been loading up its national wallet consistently over the past year. But they probably didn't expect something as severe as the Terra Foundation crash or Bitcoin dipping below 20,000. We still wouldn't say things are that bad because we've seen much worse, but this is an entire country we're talking about. A country that's seen its Bitcoin holdings slashed by more than 70% over the last couple of months. So, is this just a bear market or the end of El Salvador's revolution? Well, if you ask us, we think it all depends on investor sentiments. If much of the country, including its investors, is new to the digital currency, this crash probably has them questioning their choices. But if people understand the market and know that this is nothing extraordinary, then we think that El Salvador will be partying in the next bull market. Or think of it this way, if people are watching videos of Warren Buffett saying he wouldn't even buy a Bitcoin for $25, then El Salvador is probably screwed. Next, blowing things out of proportion. This is what we hate most about the bear market. The majority of people become so panicky thinking things will never get better now. It's like a classic example of investors who buy high and sell low after going through a crazy episode of FUD. For starters, you gotta understand that what Bukele is trying to do isn't going to happen overnight or in a year. It's a highly ambitious and visionary plan, which may take decades to come through. And even though things aren't looking too good right now, it's all about finding the positives. Bitcoin usage in El Salvador is only 2%. Well, you have an entire nation who knows what Bitcoin is. Plus point, adoption rates have slowed down and no one is using digital currencies. Everyone has a digital wallet to easily buy and sell digital currencies. Plus point, we just think things are being blown out of proportion, to be honest. We're literally talking about an entire nation with digital wallets and basic information about digital currencies. Imagine the adoption rate when the market starts to recover. Ledin, a Canadian-based crypto lending and savings company, saw El Salvador users increase by an astonishing 678% over the last year. So, those 2,381 Bitcoins are just what the government owns. Imagine how much wealth retail investors have stored up in the form of digital currencies. As soon as that pump hits, it's showtime for Bukele and his gang. Moving on, it's not so much about digital acceptance. This is where things get a little tricky. Now, we think the government has done an exceptional job to increase digital acceptance, but when it comes to people's daily routine, there's a lot of work to be done. Think of it this way, even though companies all over the world are slowly starting to accept digital currencies as a method of payment, imagine how hard it must be for people who've been using cash their entire lives. Like if you walked up to buy fruits or something, and instead of paying cash, you had to send Bitcoins. And since it's so volatile, you'd have to send a different value every single day. Even Laura Andrade, who is the director of the university's Public Opinion Institute, claims Bitcoin is not part of people's daily routine. If you go to any market in El Salvador, you're more likely to receive an insult than be able to purchase something in Bitcoin. That's word to word what Laura had to say about paying with Bitcoin in the country. See, this is what we mean when we say it's not so much about digital acceptance. And despite his ever-increasing popularity, a lot of citizens still think Bukele's second biggest failure in the last year is Bitcoin. Just wait for a bull market and see how it becomes his biggest achievement. We have a feeling the guy knows what he's doing. Up next, this is what every country needs. Who would you listen to? An expert or a random group of people who think El Salvador is failing? Believe it or not, the results may actually surprise you. There is no doubt that crypto has seen a huge influx of investors, making it a multi-trillion-dollar industry in the past couple of years. But that still doesn't mean investors know what they're investing in. Apart from a handful of stablecoins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe BNB, most users have no idea what technology is backed by certain projects. So, if we're talking about ourselves, we'd trust a crypto expert over investor sentiment any single day. Paolo Androino, Chief Technology Officer at Bitfinex, says the crypto industry is what every country needs. For starters, everything is based on technology, and since the world is pretty much going to be based on tech in the coming future, El Salvador has sacrificed temporary gains for a really exciting and beneficial future. Talking about the country's Bitcoin adoption rates, Paolo laid down a really interesting fact. He talked about how 4 Ford, the car company, wasn't really able to make it big in their first year either. Only a very small fraction of the population actually had a car after about a year of production. If we're calling El Salvador's Bitcoin adoption a failure after just 1 year, shouldn't Ford cars also be considered a failure? But if you look at how things played out today, you could spot so many Fords on a single trip to the mall or work. So yeah, Bukele has a really long-term vision about things, and we are glad that he's sticking to his plan, since giving up after a year, that too in a really volatile industry, would be a much bigger failure than actually failing. Now, for some international skepticism. If Bukele had invested in something like Shiba or Doge, then we'd all be skeptical, but this is Bitcoin we're talking about, the biggest asset on the crypto market. So we're not really sure why so many institutes and financial experts have been freaking out over their decision to make Bitcoin a legal tender. Maybe because it weakens the dollar and promotes other countries to push crypto adoption in the mainstream. At one point in time, it got really bad for El Salvador. The IMF even denied approving a $1.3 billion program aimed at increasing development in the country. The IMF cited risks because of Bitcoin, and we're not really sure what those risks are, but if you ask us, they're probably just afraid Nayib will continue buying the dip using the loan money. El Salvador's 2,381 Bitcoins are worth around $48 million right now, less than half of what they were originally bought for. In other words, that's more than a 50% loss, but imagine all the gains to be made when it climbs back up to its all-time high. Last but not least, El Salvador's future Bitcoin plans. The country might not have been able to improve finances, but that doesn't mean it has a pessimistic view of the future. Believe it or not, President Nayib Bukele actually plans to go even bigger in digital gold. His team has issued the first Bitcoin-backed bonds, and plans are to raise $1 billion to build a technologically advanced Bitcoin city. El Zonte Beach has been renamed Bitcoin Beach, and a little shop there has a sign outside reading "Bitcoin payments are accepted here." The owner of the shop was even able to make some upgrades to the shop since it brought her more business. So it's not all gloomy and depressing. There are actually a lot of exciting things that could happen with everything that's planned out. Imagine if Bitcoin City became the destination of choice for crypto whales and millionaires from all over the world, purchasing things using digital currencies. Analysts still think it's a heck of a gamble, but if the market recovers, then the majority of investors and experts are going to be calling Bukele an international crypto rock star. That's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Will El Salvador be going to the moon in the next bull market? And do you think Bitcoin should be accepted as a legal tender worldwide? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more informative content in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.